Krenva Outpost's slave market throbbed like a fevered pulse, a hollowed asteroid deck aglow with jagged neon. The air buzzed with alien tongues, the stench of sweat, and the electric hum of bidding slates. A circular platform, bathed in crimson and violet spotlights, stood as the arena's heart, ringed by a restless crowd. Vorik with twitching antennae, Crixans with dripping mandibles, and humans with hungry stares. Chains clinked, and the weight of despair hung thick, pierced by the thrill of commerce. 5 alien women stood shackled to steel pillars, their wrists bound high, bodies bared to the crowd's gaze. Each was a vision of otherworldly allure, their unique traits sparking desire. A Gauian with blue fur that shimmered like a comet's tail, her slit-pupil eyes darting with quiet panic. A Cordy, her gray skin translucent, veins glowing faintly, her delicate frame trembling under the lights. A Vorik female, her emerald scales catching the neon like fractured gems, her serpentine tail coiled tightly in defiance. A Tari with golden feathers that rippled like liquid sunlight, her avian eyes sharp with unspoken rage. And at the far end, ignored by most, Zynara, a 3-meter Zaraani, her purple skin gleaming like amethyst, silver hair tangled in wild waves, her amber eyes burning with unbowed pride. Her towering frame and muscled build marked her as a laborer, not a prize, her size deemed too vast for the crowd's tastes. Vrox, the Crixan auctioneer, ruled the platform like a predator in his element. His 4 arms swept wide, his amplified voice, a guttural snarl laced with showman's flair, slicing through the chaos. "Step up, you void crawlers! Feast on these treasures!" he roared, his mandibles clicking. He pointed to the Gauian. "For soft as stardust, eyes to drown in. Start at 3,000 credits." The crowd surged, slates flashing. 3-5, a Vorik hissed. 4, a human barked, shoving forward. Vrox grinned, pacing like a dancer, his gestures stoking the frenzy. 4, you're robbing her. Look at that glow. 5, who gives me 5? Bids climbed, voices clashing, the air electric. The Gauian sold for 6,000, her buyer a leering Crixan who unchained her with a smirk. Next, the Cordy. Fragile beauty, sharp mind. Vrox crowed. 4,000, let's go. The crowd roared, bids spiking to 7,000 as a human trader claimed her, his eyes glinting with greed. The Vorik female went for 8,000, her scales drawing gasps, her buyer a Vorik noble with clicking claws. The Tari's feathers sparked a bidding war, her price soaring to 9,000, won by a human smuggler who licked his lips as he approached. Then came the final prize, the crowd's energy peaking. She was a hybrid, fox, rabbit, human, a creature of lethal curves and hypnotic grace. Her fur, a silver-white sheen, hugged a body that seemed sculpted for sin, her hips swaying slightly despite her chains. Her eyes, large and violet, flickered with a mix of fear and allure, her rabbit-like ears twitching, her fox tail curling with a tease. "Behold perfection," Vrox bellowed, his voice trembling with excitement. "This vixen's curves will haunt your dreams. Start at 10,000. The crowd exploded. 11, 12. Slates blinked furiously, voices hoarse, the bids climbing like wildfire. 15, 18, 20,000. Vrox egged them on, his arms flailing. "She's a goddess, you fools. Higher, higher." A Vorik tycoon won at 25,000, striding forward to claim her as the crowd roared, some clapping, others cursing their empty wallets. The platform fell quiet, the air heavy with spent energy. Vrox hesitated, his mandibles twitching, then turned to Zynara, the afterthought. "One last lot," he said, voice dripping with mockery. "This Zaraani beast, 3 meters of raw muscle." He strutted before her, his grin cruel. "Too big for most of you weaklings. And down there," he jabbed a claw toward her pelvis, his tone lewd. "That void's too vast, too deep. Nobody's filling that." The crowd snickered, a few shouting crude jests, but the energy was gone. Buyers turned away, slates dimming, footsteps echoing as they drifted toward the exits. Only Zynara remained, her 3-meter frame shackled, purple skin gleaming like amethyst, silver hair tangled. Her amber eyes burned, unyielding despite the auction's failure. Vrox, the Crixan auctioneer, stood wiping his mandibles, his forearms twitching with irritation. Jace Corrin pushed through the thinning crowd, his lean frame cutting a path. At 34, the ex-soldier carried scars, a jagged one across his eyebrow, and a pulse knife strapped to his thigh. His dark eyes flicked to Zynara, catching the defiance in her stance. He'd come for a smuggler's intel, but something about her, pride unbroken by chains, halted him. How much for her? Jace asked, voice low, steady, stepping up to Vrox. The Crixan snorted, his mandibles clicking. That beast? 8,000 credits. Nobody wants her. Too big, too much trouble. He leered at Zynara. Good luck filling that void, human. That hole's too vast for your kind. He jabbed a claw toward her pelvis, chuckling cruelly. You'll strain yourself trying. Jace's jaw tightened, but he didn't bite back. He transferred the credits, his savings gutted, and nodded to the shackles. Unchain her. Vrox shrugged, signaling a drone to release her. As the chains fell, he leaned close, his voice a mocking hiss. Hope you've got stamina, human. That one's a canyon. Zynara's fists clenched, but she stayed silent, her gaze locked on Jace. Let's go, Jace said, gesturing to the exit. Zynara followed, her steps heavy, towering over him as they left the market's din behind. Krenva Outpost sprawled across its asteroid like a wound that refused to heal, its upper decks a maze of steel and desperation. Tucked in a rare open quadrant, Jace Corrin's home stood apart, a sturdy, low-slung house of salvaged metal and reinforced glass, its walls pitted by micrometeor scars. Beyond its doors stretched a small farm, a defiant patch of green amidst the outpost grime. Hydroponic vats bubbled with nutrient-rich algae, their faint gurgle mixing with the hum of solar lamps rigged to mimic Earth's sun. Rows of stunted root crops and tough, grayish vines clung to artificial soil, a testament to Jace's stubborn will to coax life from this barren rock. The air carried a damp, earthy tang, undercut by the outpost's ever-present ozone. Zynara ducked through the house's reinforced door, her 3-meter frame casting a shadow across the scuffed floorboards. Her purple skin, deep as dusk, shimmered under the dim glow of a hollow lamp flickering on a cluttered table. Silver hair spilled in wild tangles, brushing the ceiling's exposed beams. Her amber eyes, sharp with caution, traced the room, a worn cot piled with patched blankets, a shelf of battered tools, a cracked window showing the farm's faint green haze. She moved carefully, her muscled arms tensing as if expecting a trap, her scars, faint lines from years of labor, visible in the light. She stood by the wall, her presence filling the space like a storm held in check. Jace shrugged off his coat, hanging it on a rusted hook. At 34, he bore the lean build of a soldier, his dark hair flecked with gray, a scar splitting his left eyebrow like a fault line. His hands, calloused from both combat and soil, moved with quiet precision as he set a crate of seeds on the table. This is home, he said, his voice low, steady, cutting through the vat's hum. You're free here, Zynara. No debts, no chains. Zynara's gaze flicked to him, her voice a deep rumble, like distant thunder. Free? She tilted her head, silver hair shifting, her tone sharp with doubt. This outpost devours the weak. Teach me your ways, your plants, your work. I need to stand, not kneel. Jace leaned against the table, his dark eyes meeting hers, unyielding but warm. Fair enough. I'll show you the farm. How to balance the vats, coax roots from dirt, keep the lamps from frying. We'll work side by side. He paused, his fingers brushing a seed packet, his voice softening. But I didn't buy you to own you. I'm not here to take what's not given. That's not me. Her eyes widened, a flicker of disbelief cracking her guarded mask. She stepped closer, her boots thudding, her shadow swallowing the table's light. Why? She asked, her voice softer, tinged with confusion. She gestured to her towering frame, her curves, the strength Vrox had mocked. I'm what they desire. A prize, a tool. Why spare me that? Jace held her gaze, his posture open, his words deliberate. I've been used before, chewed up by orders, spit out by war. I won't do that to you. If we build something, it's because you want it, Zynara. Not because I paid credits or broke you. It's your choice, always. His voice carried a quiet fire, a man who'd drawn a line in the dust and meant to hold it. Zynara's breath hitched, her fingers twitching as if reaching for something intangible. She stepped back, her shoulder grazing a beam, and studied him. The scar, the steady gaze, the hands that worked soil instead of weapons. You're not like them, she murmured, almost to herself, her voice a low echo in the room's stillness. No one's offered me that before. Jace's lips curved, a faint smirk that softened his edges. Yeah, well, I'm not most people. He picked up a small hydroponic gauge, its screen cracked but glowing. Tomorrow, we start with this. Learn the water levels, and you'll keep the crops alive. Weeks passed in a rhythm of labor and learning. Jace guided Zynara through the farm's demands, mixing nutrient solutions, pruning vines with a blade's precision, repairing solar lamps when they sputtered. Her strength made lifting vats effortless, but her curiosity, sharp, relentless, surprised him. She asked questions, her rumbling voice filling the quiet. Why this soil? How do you know the lamp cycle? Jace answered with patience, his dry humor drawing rare, fleeting smiles from her, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Their evenings grew into conversations, shared over rations at the cluttered table. Zynara spoke of her Zaraani clan, shattered by raiders, her pride forged in survival. Jace shared fragments of his past, battles fought, betrayals endured, a soldier's life traded for this stubborn farm. Each word built a bridge, fragile but steady, her wariness thawing with every shared glance, every brush of hands over a tool. Her amber eyes lingered on him longer, softening, seeing not just a human, but a man who saw her. One evening, as the hollow lamp cast a warm glow over their dinner, steamed roots and algae paste, bland but filling, Zynara set her plate down with a deliberate thud. Jace looked up, Fort pausing, catching the shift in her gaze. Her eyes burned, not with anger but with something fiercer, deeper. She stood, her 3-meter frame towering, silver hair catching the light like a cascade of stars. Without a word, she crossed the room, her steps steady, and lifted him from his chair, her hands gentle but unyielding, cradling him like he weighed nothing. Zynara, Jace began, his voice low, but her looks silenced him, a mix of resolve and want. She carried him to the cot, her movements sure, and set him down. Her fingers moved to her tunic, peeling it away, her purple skin glowing in the dim light, scars and curves bared not as a trophy but as a choice. She leaned close, her breath warm, her presence overwhelming yet tender. Their connection unfolded in the quiet, a dance of trust and desire, born of weeks of shared work and words, her heart claiming him as freely as he'd offered her freedom. Zynara sat on the edge of the cot, her 3-meter frame making the metal frame creak under her weight. Her amber eyes hesitated, glancing at Jace before dropping shyly, a rare flush spreading across her purple skin. My size down there, she murmured, her voice softening as her hands gripped the cot's edge. It's big. I'm embarrassed. Jace, leaning against the table, gave her a warm, gentle smile, the kind that matched the soft glow of the hollow lamp. He sat up, moving close enough for her to feel the warmth radiating from him. No need, Zynara, he said, his voice low and steady. It's perfect for me. Human biology's a bit different. You don't have to worry. His eyes sparkled with reassurance, his hand lightly brushing hers, waiting for her response. She looked up, her gaze searching, then whispered, "Show me." Her voice carried a mix of curiosity and desire, an invitation too compelling to ignore. Jace leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear, teasing yet tender. "Just have fun and take it easy," he whispered, a playful edge to his tone. "Think of it like eating an ice cream cone. Lick it slowly, savor every bit. You'll find the magic." Zynara let out a soft laugh, the clear sound breaking the tension. "Ice cream, huh?" she asked, but her lips curved into a smile, her eyes glowing with trust. His grip on her hand tightened, his thumb tracing small circles on her skin, encouraging without rushing. She took a deep breath, then leaned forward, her large but gentle hands lifting his face to hers. Their lips met, tentative at first, a brush as light as a breeze, but it deepened, growing warmer, hungrier. Jace pulled her closer, his hands resting on her waist, feeling the strength in her curves. Zynara responded, her hands gliding over his shoulders, down his back, exploring with curiosity and delight. Then, in a fleeting moment, her eyes widened, a sharp gasp escaping as she felt something unexpected. He was more than enough, filling the space she'd once feared too vast. Doubt melted away, replaced by surprise and quiet joy, their eyes locking in a wordless understanding. The room seemed to shrink around them, the dim light wrapping their entwined bodies in a soft glow. Their breaths mingled, sometimes quick, sometimes slow, blending with the rhythm of their racing hearts. Her hands roamed his skin, strong yet careful, while he returned her touches with warm caresses, as if memorizing every moment. The night unfolded in whispers and sensual touches, their differences fading until only a deep connection remained, pulling them together like waves crashing to shore. Zynara stood in Jace's house, a metal-walled haven on Krenva Outpost, the farm's hydroponic hum soft behind the cracked window. Her 3-meter frame loomed, purple skin catching the hollow lamp's glow, silver hair framing her face. Her hand rested on her belly, amber eyes clouded with worry. "Jace," she said, voice low, trembling. "I'm pregnant." A faint smile flickered, then faded. "It's yours." Jace, leaning against a tool-strewn table, froze. His scarred face broke into a grin, eyes bright. "A kid? That's good, Zynara. That's great." He stepped closer, hand reaching for hers. She pulled back, gaze dropping. "Not for my kind," she murmured. "We birth enough, then they discard us. Useless. I'm scared you'll cast me out too." Jace's grin vanished, shock widening his eyes. "Cast you out?" His voice cracked raw. "Never. You're not a tool to me. You're everything." He gripped her hand, firm, unyielding. "No one's discarding you. Not while I'm here." Her eyes searched his, finding truth. She nodded, a tear glinting. "Then what now?" Jace's jaw set, a soldier's fire igniting. "Now we end this." He strode to a crate, pulling out a pulse rifle and plasma grenades, strapping them on with practiced ease. "The slave market, those bastards selling people like you. I'm tearing it down. Today." Zynara's breath caught, her hand still on her belly. "You'll fight them all? For you, for our kid, for every outcast they've broken." He slung the rifle over his shoulder, eyes blazing. "Come with me, or stay safe. Your call." She straightened, pride flaring. "I fight." The slave market of Krenva Outpost pulsed with a sickly vibrance, a neon-lit abyss where chains bound hope and cruelty wore a merchant's grin. Crimson and violet lights flickered across the cavernous deck, illuminating rows of cages and steel pillars that held captives like trophies. The air reeked of sweat, oil, and the sharp tang of plasma discharge, while the cacophony of alien tongues, hisses, clicks, and guttural roars clashed with the clatter of credits on bidding slates. This was the heart of the outpost's underworld, a pit where lives were sold under the glare of holographic signs preaching profit. Jace Corin moved like a shadow through the crowd, his pulse rifle humming in his grip, its barrel warm from a test shot in the vents. His lean frame, scarred from battles long past, wove through the press of Voric traders and Crixan slavers, his dark eyes burning with a soldier's focus. At his side, Zynara towered, her 3-meter frame a force of nature, purple skin gleaming under the neon, silver hair whipping as she scanned the chaos. Her amber eyes blazed, her fists clenched, ready to unleash the strength that had shattered her own chains. They were no longer just a man and a Zaraani. They were a storm, fueled by a vow to end this horror. Jace nodded to her, a silent signal, and raised his rifle. The first shot cracked the air, a bolt of plasma searing through a Crixengard chest, his mandibles freezing mid-click as he crumpled. The crowd froze, then erupted into screams. Jace moved fast, his boots pounding the grimy deck, grenades arcing from his hand. Boom! The first stall exploded, metal twisting into slag, chains snapping as a cage burst open. Shrapnel rained, and a Vorik merchant screeched, his antennae singed. Jace fired again, his aim precise, dropping 2 more guards before they could draw their shock batons. Zynara charged, her roar shaking the platform. Her massive hands gripped a steel pillar, muscles flexing as she tore it from its bolts, the screech of metal drowning the crowd's panic. She swung it like a club, smashing a row of cages, their doors splintering. Women spilled out, scaled, feathered, furred, their eyes wide with terror and hope. A Gauian with blue fur stumbled, her slit-pupil eyes blinking at Zynara, who lifted her gently, setting her free. A Tkari, her golden feathers matted, clutched Zynara's arm, whispering thanks in a trembling voice. These were the outcasts, deemed too flawed for the bitter's lust, left to rot in labor or worse. The slavers rallied, their shock batons crackling, but they were no match for Zynara's fury. She caught a Crixen's arm, snapping it with a twist, his scream lost in the chaos. Another lunged, his blade glinting, but she hurled him into a stall, wood and metal collapsing in a shower of sparks. Jace covered her, his rifle spitting fire, each shot a promise kept. A drone whirred overhead, its laser priming, but Jace's grenade found it first, blasting it into a cascade of molten fragments. The market burned, neon signs flickering out, stalls reduced to smoldering ruins. The crowd fled, buyers scattering like roaches, their slates abandoned on the blood-slicked deck. A final slaver, a hulking Vorik, charged Jace, claws raised. Zynara stepped in, her fist crashing into his skull, sending him sprawling, lifeless. She stood over him, chest heaving, her amber eyes meeting Jace's. A silent nod passed between them. Partners, bound by more than love, now forged in battle. As dawn's faint light filtered through the outpost's vents, Jace and Zynara led the freed women through Krenva's winding corridors. The group, over 30, some limping, others clutching each other, followed in awed silence. Jace's farm became their refuge. Its hydroponic vats and vine rose a stark contrast to the market's chains. The women gathered under the solar lamps, their faces scaled, feathered, human-like, lit with fragile hope. A Cordy with glowing veins whispered thanks, her hands trembling. A Vorik, her scales dull from labor, knelt by a vat, touching the soil as if it were sacred. Word of the raid spread like wildfire through Krenva's underbelly. Jace Corin, once a lone farmer scratching life from an asteroid, now loomed as a titan. His name echoed in the outpost taverns and tunnels, whispered by slavers in fear, by outcasts in reverence. He'd cracked the market spine, defied the underworld's grip, syndicate thugs, rebel spies, corrupt officials, and carved a new power from the ashes. Jace sat at the cluttered table, cleaning a pulse rifle, his scarred hands moving with practiced care. Zynara, her 3-meter frame filling the room, leaned against the wall, her purple skin catching the light, silver hair tucked behind her ear. Her hand rested on her belly, a quiet smile curving her lips as she watched the women outside. Their child, a spark of life, had become their anchor, binding them to this fight. A young alien woman approached, her steps hesitant. She was a Tkari, her golden feathers dulled by captivity, but shimmering faintly now, her avian eyes wide with curiosity. Her name was Lyrian, barely past her first cycle, her delicate frame wrapped in a borrowed tunic. She stopped before Jace, wings twitching nervously, and glanced at Zynara, then back to him. "Jace," she said, her voice a soft chirp. "I've heard about you and Zynara. How you share something deep. Love, they call it. I want to understand it. Teach me, like you taught her." Jace set the rifle down, his dark eyes meeting hers, a faint smile tugging at his scarred face. He glanced at Zynara, who nodded, her amber eyes warm with approval, a silent encouragement. "Love's not a trick you learn," Jace said, leaning forward, his voice low, steady. "It's not about taking or owning. It starts with sharing. Who you are, what you fear, what you dream. Zynara and I, we talked, worked together, built trust. That's where it begins." Lyrian tilted her head, feathers rustling. "Trust?" she asked, her voice trembling with hope. "I've only known chains. How do I start?" Jay stood, gesturing to the farm outside. "Sit with someone. Share a story. Your home, your stars. Listen to theirs. Let them see you, not the cage they put you in. That's how you find connection." He paused, his hand brushing Zynara's arm, a fleeting touch. "It's slow, sometimes messy, but it's real." Zynara stepped closer, her presence grounding, her voice a gentle rumble. "He gave me a choice," she said, her eyes on Lyrian. "That's what love holds, freedom to be you, not what others demand." She smiled, a rare softness, and Lyrian's wings fluttered, her eyes brightening. Lyrian nodded, clutching the tunic tighter. "I'll try," she whispered. "I'll share like you." She turned to the window, watching the other women, her posture lighter, as if a weight had lifted. Days turned to weeks, and the farm became a beacon. The women, once broken by chains, shared stories under the solar lamps, their laughter weaving through the vines. Lyrian spoke of her tarry skies, her voice stronger each day. Others followed, scaled Vorak, furred Gauian, building bonds that replaced fear with purpose. Jace and Zynara watched, their hands entwined, their unborn child a promise of tomorrow. The outpost whispered of Jace's raid, his name a blade in the underworld's heart. The syndicate cowered, rebels took note, and officials scrambled. But in the farm's quiet, a deeper truth took root. Freedom wasn't just breaking chains. It was giving others the chance to stand, to share, to love. True strength lies not in power over others, but in offering them the space to find their own. Through trust, through sharing, through the quiet courage of opening one's heart.